Peter, after all that waiting and this vote finally happening and it not going through, is it just a matter of waiting another month and now the bill passing in January with the arrival of the Republican-controlled Congress?
Absolutely, and that's what Republican leaders, including Mitch McConnell, promised last night after the vote ended up on Capitol Hill. They said we're going to be right back at it as soon as January, and of course they stand a much better chance of success given the arrival of those new Republican senators. So we will be right back at it. The question is whether or not the president would feel any different about this proposal. At that particular moment in time, we could have the completion of a court case in Nebraska that he's been waiting for. We could have a final determination by the State Department, but it's still not clear the president at the end of the day is going to approve this project going forward.
Peter, how desperate was Mary Landrieu to get this done?
She was more desperate to get the issue on the table. I think she knew from the start that this was going to be an uphill fight, but she got a lot of attention with her push to force Democrats, including Harry Reid, to bring this to the floor. She was successful in that. Brendan, I was watching her on the floor last night, literally hovering at the table there where the votes were being counted and pressing senators right at the last moment. I saw her grab Carl Levin, who's, of course, retiring, talk with him briefly. He was a no vote. This was a Hail Mary on her part to try and save her Senate seat. And she certainly raised the issue. She raised the heat around this issue. She probably helped herself, but at the end of the day, her opponent supports this project as well. It's not clear that it's really made that much difference.
Peter, in all these pictures we see right behind Mary Landrieu, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, the conservative Democrat, what do we learn in this vote about the number of Democrats in the next Congress who are going to start voting with Republicans?
I think the core group that you saw in this vote is a pretty good indication that there will be a certain group of Democrats. It may not be 14 like we saw this time, right, who will cross the aisle, who will be prepared. Watch especially people like Mark Warner, who have been, centrist Democrats, but more willing to follow Harry Reid. When Harry Reid's no longer the majority leader, watch for them to freelance a little bit more and cause problems, not just for the Democrats in the Senate, but for the president as well.
Peter, ask me a basic question. We see this pipeline vote go on and on and on. What happens if it's not approved? What happens to the United States of America if there isn't a Keystone Pipeline?
Well, you heard on the Senate floor yesterday, and you've heard from some analysts, that maybe not much is different, that this is far more important to Canada than it is the United States. There's some in the energy industry who would challenge that. At the end of the day, they believe more oil flowing into the United States from friendly countries like Canada is a better thing than potentially down the road more oil coming from not-so-friendly countries. But the reality, Tom, is that the energy industry, as we talked about yesterday, has moved on. There's now significant rail capacity, bringing a lot of this Alberta oil sands to market. There are new pipelines being built up in Canada, moving it eastward. So the energy industry has not counted on Keystone, and it still may not have to going forward, and it still may not be able to. At the end of the day, this president may still stand in the way.
And Peter, there are some who say that it's mostly a symbolic importance. Richard Haass is one of them. He joined us yesterday from the Council on Foreign Relations. This is what he said about its importance to foreign policy.
It would send a powerful diplomatic signal. We want the Germans to maybe restart nuclear. We want the French to do fracking. How can we get them to take tough energy decisions if we're going to continue to kick this down the road?
What about its importance as leverage in foreign relations?
Well, I think the most important foreign relationship at issue here is with Canada. And there are a lot of Canadians who think that the U.S. takes Canada for granted, especially the energy relationship. So it is an important diplomatic signal to other countries if the United States were to approve this, or if the United States were to stand in the way. But there are so many other factors. This is a political issue now for both Democrats and Republicans. This is a fundraising issue for both sides. And arguably, both sides would like to see this remain as an issue rather than as a policy matter that's resolved.
Well, Peter, thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Peter Cook from Washington.